Hi, welcome to Door to Door with your host, me, Judy Stakee. Join me as I travel all over interviewing songwriters about their process. Hi, I'm sitting here today with Lisa Loeb, who is the first unsigned recording artist ever to have a #1 single on the radio. She achieved this with her song Stay, I Missed You from the Reality Bites soundtrack. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's not until actually 2 years ago, 2012, that Macklemore and Lewis broke the record and also had a #1 single on the radio, being independent, unsigned artists. But you still hold the record for being the female.
Right.
So,
perfect.
there you go. In 2006, she had a reality TV series called #1 Single,
Yes.
named after your #1 single, which is fantastic. And since then, released 8 albums, a couple of children's albums.
Yes.
And most recently, you're going to launch an eyewear line.
Yes, I launched an eyewear line a few years ago, but we've got some big news coming up for it later this year. There's going to be a handful of frames available at Costco, which is a big deal for us because we have great opticians and ophthalmologist offices that carry our eyewear, more of a wide range of our eyewear. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely a lot of traffic that goes through Costco and a lot of people who buy their glasses there. So it'll be cool to have, that exposure and that have more people able to buy the glasses no matter where they live.
So what else are you up to?
Well, I've got 2 young children, and that's been a big one. Yeah. I think over the last couple of years, it's funny. Instead of seeing things by the year now, I feel like I see them in larger phases. Like I think when I got signed to a major label back in 1994, when my song was at #1, actually 20 years ago, I was signed to Geffen Records, and at that point, I got into this rhythm where it was probably like every 2 or 3 years I'd put a record out because I'd have to write the songs. I'd go on tour for the previous project, write the songs, go into the studio, make the record, do all the artwork and everything, which I'm really involved in. And then the album cycles were long because we started touring internationally and then had to come back and, start over again, start writing again. So I think I'm in these longer time cycles. And to me, I feel like I just put my record out and just put my album out and just put my kids' book out. I put a record out called No Fairy Tale that came out last January. It was last January, so it was a little over a year ago. And so for me, it still feels pretty recent because I've been out touring with that record. And then I also put a kids' record and book out, which was with Sterling Publishing, called Lisa Loeb Songs for Movin' and Shakin'. And I made it with Michelle Lewis and Dan Petty, who you probably know. And we have a great illustrator named Ryan O'Rourke, and we worked with Sterling Publishing. And it was the second in a series of books and CDs that came out with Sterling Publishing. And that came out about a year ago, like last spring. So I've been out promoting those 2 projects and touring with those projects, and have really just started getting into thinking about what my next creative project is.
I think that's the difference in the times, though, because 20 years ago you made a record and you toured. You made a record and you toured, and there was no other outlet. And nowadays, especially with the internet and digital, you can do so many other things.
Yeah, you can. And also, I think in the early 90s when I came out professionally, like I had been playing music for a while, but I feel like in the early 90s, if you did other projects other than music, it was seen as being kind of dilettantish. Like you didn't want to. I was an actor and I wanted to do some acting. Now I wasn't getting the jobs either exactly back then, but it was sort of seen as an odd thing. If you were a musician, you also wanted to be an actor. Nowadays, you can do everything that you're really excited about if you can, if you have the opportunity. So I've been able to have a Food Network show. You understand?
Oh yeah, no, you have a few Food Network things going on. Yeah.
Yeah, so to be able to follow things that I'm passionate about and to do things, have an idea and get to do that idea, whether it's a music-related thing or, I started a foundation to raise money to send kids to summer camp called the Camp Lisa Foundation. Right. And I've been able to visit some summer camps, and Michelle Lewis and Dan Petty and I have been writing a musical called Camp Capuana that played 2 summers at this big theater in Miami, and now it's going to be up in New York City in 2015. And so, it's easier to have a lot of different projects going on at the same time, and it's more acceptable, and creatively it's more fulfilling, I think.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly there. Yeah. Okay, first question.
Yes.
How did we meet?
Oh my gosh. How did we meet? There could be so many different ways we could have met. Was it during the whole shopping process?
No. I actually remember meeting you at the Palace one night with Sheryl Crow. Rock the Vote event.
That was really a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
I feel like did I meet Don Henley there?
Yeah,
was he there?
That's who we were all with,
Yes.
that night.
Oh my gosh, that was a really big deal.
That in the entourage of them, yeah.
That was so amazing.
That was because that was the year she was up for all her Grammys.
Yeah.
So we were going to all the little events and parties when we met you, and
that's right, because I remember also John Henley's like, yeah, if you ever need a ride to Dallas, you go with my private jet. I was like, all right. And so I would call him up. I'm like, so I'm going to Dallas. He never actually, we never actually followed through on that, unfortunately. But yeah, that's a great time. And it was exciting too, because rock and roll music was really getting more involved in a really integrated way with politics and things that were important to people. Even just like maybe not, Rock the Vote is really literally about getting people out to vote, to have their voices be heard. So that was really cool.
What is your creative process?
My creative process is drink coffee. That's one really important facet. Drink coffee. For me, I have to be open to the inspiration moment. I always, nowadays with cell phones it makes it easy, but I always need to be open. The ideas come to me at different times that I never expect. It can be in the middle of the night. A lot of writers talk about that. That's rare, but it happens, taking a shower, driving to the grocery store. Sometimes when I'm listening to other people's music, whether it's in the car or just sitting around listening to music or at a concert, it opens my brain in some way, and all of a sudden things just start pouring out, lyrics. So I always have to have my tools ready, pen and paper, napkin and Sharpie, whatever the tools are, or a cell phone, so I can capture those ideas. It's kind of like love. It's like when you least expect it, it just happens. And then after I gather all that inspiration, I have little recordings and scraps of paper. I keep them on my computer now or in a file, and then when I have time to sit down, I do my homework. It's what I call my homework. And that's sitting down and looking at these ideas and saying, like, what is this about? What am I trying to say? What am I trying to write? And then the crafting starts happening.
I like that.
Calling
it homework. Yeah.
The best songs are the ones that aren't as puzzled together. Although as a songwriter, for me, those are some of the most fun songs to write. The ones that have a lot of lyrics that are all puzzled together.
Becomes a game.
Yeah, but the ones I think people enjoy the most, the ones that seem the most successful with audiences, the ones that they request, are the ones that came out more in a flow. That just it came out. And
the story
then
told itself.
Yeah, exactly. And the melody is very connected with the words, and I think that marriage makes the songs more appealing and catchy, even if you don't speak the language. Like when I'm in other countries, I notice there's certain melodies that people really that really catch them, and those are the ones that sort of came out easier. And then I also collaborate with people, and that's a different process. But for me, being prepared with a handful of ideas that I feel like are my little inspiration, little ideas that I had. Maybe I even got them in the morning. I picked up a guitar and things came to me. And I sit and write with another person. And that process can vary depending on the chemistry and the project. You know what I mean?
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. What inspires you to get up every day and do this?
It just happens. I don't know. I also think growing up, there was a magic about musicians. I listened to David Bowie and The Cure and the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and Ricky Lee Jones, and there's these songs that it's like I'm a sponge, and they just were sucked up into my body, and they're so magical. And there was a part of me ever since I was a little kid when I started writing music that wanted to be a part of that wanted to try to get in there and make that magic potion or whatever. And then once you've experienced writing a song that moves you, it might not be everyone's favorite song, but once you sort of have that feeling, it feels like a good cry or a good laugh, something that's sort of intangible and kind of magical about being a human. And then now being a performer, a professional, when I play live, that's always been really exciting to me too. Like when I was in high school, when I had really started writing music with lyrics, I had some opportunities where I was around a lot of other people, and like an acting program I was on, and the kids saw that I had a guitar. They're like, oh, play us a song. So I sort of would play a song that I'd written, and when I played a song that was an original song and they reacted to it and they really liked it and they wanted to hear it again, that also really fed me. I thought that was really cool. It was like this interesting energy. It sounds like I sound like some hippie, but like, you know, it is like a really sort of amazing energy when whatever you have is what they need and they want to hear it, and it's cool.
And you tap into it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Probably the best piece of advice. You know, as far as the music industry, I would say somebody told me a long time ago that when you get signed to a major label, that's not the end. That's not the thing. It's going to be exciting, but that's, you know, when they give you the check and they give you their advance to go make the record, and, you know, that's not it. That's just part of it. You still need to keep your independent spirit and your creative. As a creative person, I needed to stay in charge of my own music, what I wanted to hear, what I wanted to do. They left out the part about needing to be able to collaborate, because I think that's very important. You need to be able to work with business people and musicians.
Absolutely.
But I also think it's really important to this advice to like stay strong, do what you want to do, make sure that you know what the music should sound like, and don't look at somebody giving you a paycheck as the end, as the fact that you're done. The work is really just starting.
It's a door.
It's a door. That's a good way to look.
Do you have a great co-writing tip that you'd like to share?
A co-writing tip? Well, for me, as a songwriter who started as a solo artist who liked to write all their songs by themselves, I think that for me to be comfortable in a co-writing scenario, I think it's important for me to bring something in, to bring in some music, to bring in some lyrics that I'm working on. We don't necessarily end up writing around those lyrics and those melodies, but they make me feel more confident and more like I'm part of the process.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh, wow. It's more like a lack of, I was going to say lack of fear, but that wouldn't serve me well. It's good when you're, you know, creatively, it's important not to have any fear, but
you could do
maybe
anything. The superpower.
Maybe I'm terrible at questions like this kind of. Maybe the ability to make decisions, the right decision, really quickly every time.
Oh, there you go. Not make any bad choices.
No, make all the right decisions quickly and move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you do for a living if you didn't do this?
If I didn't do entertainment at all.
If you didn't do music, if you
I didn't do music?
sing, if you didn't write.
I'm going to think about it as not doing entertainment at all, because there's lots of different things I love doing in entertainment that would be interesting. But I think I would like to be a psychologist. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you'd have a lot of customers, I'm sure.
Well, it'd be interesting. It's an interesting job. It's kind of like being a musician, because you end up getting to talk to a lot of people and have conversations with people and talk about their life and they sharing stories.
That's the commonality.
Yeah.
Sharing stories. You get to hear theirs and interpret them, and
Yeah, and try to help give perspective.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
It's kind of what you do as a songwriter too, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What is your least favorite word to use in a song?
Oh gosh, let's see. Probably love or desire. Fire.
And all the ones that rhyme with those afterwards.
I know. I feel like there was a song, or door. I use the word door a lot. I'm like,
I agree with
I
you on the
shouldn't do
love.
it. I know, but sometimes you have to use those words.
You do. But,
Yeah.
But I always say that, you know, it's like every song is about love, so you really have to figure out, like, if you're going to use it, it's got to be special.
I know.
Because they're all about it.
Yeah.
If you could write with any artist out there, who would it be and why?
Wow. I mean, I would love to write with David Bowie, just because he's always been one of my big heroes.
Oh, that'd be fun.
He's a serious hero. Or Elton John would be another good one.
Okay.
He's really the master of melody, and it'd be interesting to write some lyrics. Although I will say, when I collaborate with people, I do like people. If I'm going to write lyrics with somebody, I like to write them together.
I was going to say with Ellen, you'd have to send
I know,
it to him.
just send him the lyrics, and then he can make up the song. Oh, that's hard. So yeah, David Bowie.
And Elton John.
Elton John, yeah.
Okay. How do you stay musically current?
You know, I'm really lucky. My husband works at Conan O'Brien in the music department. He's one of the he produces the music segments, and so he works with all the new bands. So we have a constant influx of every single new band you've ever heard. We get every album, every CD, and so that's how I stay current.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'm constant. I hear everything.
Oh my God, how
Yeah.
great. So before we go, I'd like to know if there's one piece of advice that you have that you would like to give young budding songwriters, artists out there.
Just make sure you write from your own voice. That's the one thing that'll make you unique from everybody else. And then craft your songs. Make sure you listen to the lyrics and make sure they're good.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this. I'm so happy.
Thank
and
you.
grateful.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.